Welcome to Reliable Prepper, your go-to resource for surviving the toughest challenges. Today we're going to cover a timeline of what would happen in a complete and permanent grid-down collapse. We don't want to scare you, we want to prepare you. Be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss a crucial tip. It starts out like any other blackout. At first, it's more of an annoyance than a crisis. You find your flashlight, light a few candles, and maybe even crack open a board game or two. You check your phone, expecting an update from the power company. But the signal is down. No big deal, you think. This happens sometimes. The power will be back on in a few hours. But as the hours stretch on, the situation changes. Here's the first tip. Don't wait until panic sets in to start conserving resources. The moment the power goes out, start rationing. That means limiting water usage, minimizing battery consumption, and mentally preparing yourself for the possibility that this isn't a short-term outage. One of the first things you should do is fill every container you have with water. Fill sinks, bathtubs, pots, pans, anything that can hold water. This might seem extreme in the first few hours, but trust me, you'll be thankful for it later. Once the water supply shuts off, it could be days or even weeks before you have access to clean water again. Another crucial early step: get organized. Identify all the essentials you have on hand: food, water, medicine, batteries, and start taking stock. This will help you manage your resources more effectively in the days to come. By day 2, the calm has started to crack. People are no longer treating this like a minor inconvenience. The realization sets in that this might not be a typical blackout. The grocery stores have been raided. Shelves are stripped bare, with people grabbing anything and everything they can. Canned goods, bottled water, batteries, whatever's left. In times of scarcity, desperation drives people to act out of fear, not logic. Stay away from the crowds. The stores and gas stations will be mobbed by frantic people. Going out into that environment is more likely to put you in danger than to get you the supplies you need. Stay home, stay calm, and stay focused on rationing what you have. Now is also the time to start thinking about home defense. In the first week of a grid-down collapse, crime spikes dramatically. People who are unprepared or running out of resources may turn to theft, breaking into homes and businesses in search of food and water. If you've never thought about home defense before, now is the time. Here are some quick tips for securing your home. Reinforce your doors with extra locks or a security bar. Weak doors are an easy point of entry for desperate people. Barricade windows and other vulnerable entry points with whatever materials you have on hand: furniture, plywood, or even scrap metal. Set up simple, low-tech early warning systems. Something as basic as stringing up tin cans outside your windows can alert you to intruders before they get too close. If you have a firearm, now is the time to make sure it's accessible, cleaned, and ready. But even if you don't have one, makeshift weapons like a baseball bat, crowbar, or even a large kitchen knife can provide some defense in a crisis. In the first week, you'll also need to begin thinking about hygiene and waste management. Without running water, waste builds up quickly, leading to a host of health risks. If you haven't prepared for this, now's the time to learn. A simple composting toilet can be set up with minimal resources, and this will help prevent the spread of disease in a long-term scenario. 2 weeks in, and society has already begun to unravel. The neighborhoods that once felt safe are no longer recognizable. People you've known for years are starting to act differently. Fear has taken hold. Trust is breaking down. In the early days of a collapse, your circle of trust is critical. It's tempting to help everyone who asks, but you need to be cautious. Choose your allies carefully. There are people out there who will take advantage of your kindness, and in a world without law and order, that can get you killed. Focus on building alliances with people who can offer skills in return for your trust. These alliances will become your lifeline. 3 months have passed since the lights went out, and the world you knew is gone. The cities have descended into chaos. The suburbs have become battlegrounds, with groups vying for control over resources and territory. Even in rural areas, the situation is deteriorating as desperate people from the cities flood the countryside in search of food, water, and safety. By now, bartering has replaced money as the main form of currency. What you have, whether it's food, water, medicine, or even tools, becomes your bargaining chip. This is why it's so important to diversify your resources. 6 months in, and the collapse is no longer an anomaly, it's the new normal. The government has either crumbled or gone into hiding, leaving ordinary people to fend for themselves. There's no electricity, no clean water, no police force. Society as we once knew it is gone. But even in this grim new world, there are pockets of hope. Small, well-organized communities have managed to carve out safe zones where people work together to defend their territory, grow food, and trade for what they need. These communities have embraced old-world values, relying on trust, cooperation, and a strong work ethic to survive. Here's a tip. If you're part of one of these communities, it's time to start thinking long-term. Establish a leadership structure. Without clear roles and responsibilities, even the strongest communities will eventually fall apart. Everyone should have a job, whether it's growing food, defending the perimeter, or repairing tools. Clear communication and shared goals are what hold communities together in times of crisis. But beware of power struggles. In a world where resources are scarce and survival is at stake, leadership can quickly become a point of contention. It's crucial that your community has a system in place to resolve disputes peacefully and fairly. Avoid letting one person or group accumulate too much power. This often leads to tyranny and infighting, which can destroy even the most resilient communities. Establishing community defense is critical at this stage. As lawlessness spreads, those who control resources become targets. Ensure that everyone in the community is trained in basic self-defense, whether it's through firearms, bows, or improvised weapons. Set up rotating patrols and establish clear zones of responsibility. The goal is to create a deterrent. A community that looks well organized and difficult to breach is far less likely to be targeted by opportunists. And remember, defense isn't just about brute force, it's about preparation and strategy. Early warning systems, escape routes, and backup plans should be integrated into your community's defense structure. The importance of old-world skills continues to grow. By now, most modern conveniences are long gone. There are no new clothes being produced, no spare parts for machinery, no replacement batteries. People are having to make do with what they have, repair what they can, and craft what they need. Skills like blacksmithing, carpentry, leatherworking, and weaving are in high demand. If you have these skills, you're a valuable asset to your community. If not, find someone who can teach you. Barter for their knowledge if necessary, because these skills will be essential for your long-term survival. At this point, bartering also becomes more sophisticated. People have learned that stockpiling supplies alone isn't enough. They need to trade for the things they can't produce themselves. Some communities may establish barter markets where goods and services are exchanged without money. It's important to have a diverse stockpile, not just food and water, but items like tools, seeds, and medical supplies that will be essential in the months and years to come. A year has passed since the collapse began, and the world is unrecognizable. The chaos of the early months has somewhat stabilized in certain regions. Cities are largely abandoned, ruled by violent gangs or left in ruins. The countryside is dotted with small, fortified enclaves of survivors. Survival now means long-term planning and sustainability. Focus on renewable energy and food security. Build wind turbines, harness solar power, and use water mills. Ensure reliable water purification methods to prevent diseases. Even though the grid is down, technology still has a role to play in the post-collapse world. Old and simple technologies, things like hand-crank radios, non-electric tools, and solar-powered devices, become invaluable. Communication tools like ham radios become a lifeline in a world where the internet and cell phones no longer function. In this new world, old-world knowledge is the key to survival. Skills and techniques from our ancestors are now crucial for staying alive. Pass this knowledge on to the next generation. These skills will ensure your community can survive and thrive. 1 year into the collapse, it's clear that the old world is gone. Those who survived adapted to a new way of life. They embraced self-sufficiency and built resilient communities. Adaptability is your greatest strength. Stay vigilant, keep learning, and never become complacent. Prepare now. Stockpile resources, learn self-sufficiency, and build a strong community. Subscribe to Reliable Prepper. Your survival is our mission.